Well, friends, I am suffering from a wedding photography hangover. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Lori Barbley, an Orlando, Florida-based wedding photographer, and here on my channel I share tips and tricks for wedding photographers. And today we're going to talk about the dreaded wedding photography hangover. So you might be wondering, what is a wedding photography hangover? It's that everything hurts and I'm dying feeling when you wake up the next morning after photographing a wedding. Pretty much your whole body hurts. Your feet, your legs, your back, your neck, your shoulders, your forearms, your hands, your wrists. Physically, everything hurts. You may also have a headache, probably because you're a dehydrated potato chip that didn't drink nearly enough water on the wedding day. You're tired. Your brain isn't functioning properly. Your voice is probably scratchy from all the talking. That, my friends, is the wedding photography hangover. No alcohol required. If you're just shooting one wedding a weekend, the wedding photography hangover isn't such a big deal. But some weekends, I shoot multiple weddings. I have a lot of double wedding weekends, and now with the popularity of Thursday and Sunday weddings, I've shot as many as 4 weddings in 4 days. See, there's that wedding photography hangover voice. When you shoot 4 weddings in 4 days, your client on day 4 needs to get as much of your physical and mental energy as your client on day 1. So there are a couple of things you can do to better take care of yourself when you're shooting weddings. Clearly, I did not do those things when I shot yesterday's wedding. And I plead quarantine because after not shooting a wedding for almost 4 months, I was a little rusty and neglected to do the basic self-care tips that, for me, are necessary to prevent the wedding day hangover. So let's talk about what those are. For me, wedding day hangover prevention starts the day before the wedding. Most people don't drink enough water on a regular basis, and I'm guilty of this too. But the day before the wedding, I make sure I'm well hydrated because I know that on the wedding day, I probably won't drink as much water as I need to. I also make sure to eat a really good balanced diet the day before the wedding. Protein is really important for muscle recovery, which is something I learned when I was training for a marathon. So I try to get a good mix of protein and carbs the day before the wedding. Also the day before the wedding, I like to make sure I move my body and get some exercise. Now this can be something as simple as a 30-minute walk or whatever your favorite form of exercise is, but just get the blood flowing. And as tempting as it may be to have a glass of wine the night before the wedding, I skip alcohol the day before because it's dehydrating, and I think I've mentioned before that I get dehydrated super easily, especially shooting here in Florida. The last thing I do before a wedding day is try to get a really good night's sleep. I mean, this should be a goal, always, but especially the night before a wedding, I try to get the full 8 hours of sleep and make sure I'm well rested for the big day. Alright, so it's the wedding day. What are some things you can do on the wedding day to prevent feeling like absolute garbage the next day? Make sure you're well hydrated and even take electrolytes if you need a little extra hydration. I like powdered Gatorade or Noon tablets, and I'll drop a link for those in the description. Again, protein is very important for muscle recovery, so I try to eat a balanced breakfast with some protein and carbs before a wedding, and depending on what time the wedding starts, make sure I have a nice balanced lunch as well. Dinner on a wedding day, you get what you get at a wedding. I do always throw some protein bars in my bag in case the vendor meals are not so good or we end up not having time to eat them. So just make sure that you're actually eating something. Food is fuel for your body, and if you don't fuel your body, you're really going to feel like trash the next day. The morning of a wedding, I try to do about 30 minutes of yoga, and one of my favorites is Yoga with Adrienne on YouTube. She's got lots of great 10 to 30 minute videos just to help you get stretched out, loose, get the blood flowing before a wedding. I'll leave a link to her channel in the comments below. But even if yoga's not your thing, just make sure you stretch and get your body moving a little bit before the wedding. Like most people, when I started photography, I would use the camera strap that came with the camera. You know, the one that goes around your neck and puts a lot of pressure on the pressure point of the back of your neck. And I would wonder why I would wake up with neck pain and headache pain the next day. Invest in a good camera strap or a good harness or holster system that will take your cameras off the neck strap and distribute the weight onto your shoulders or your hips, or anywhere but your neck, basically. Since I started using a crossbody strap, I've had significantly less neck pain. Now, I shoot with one camera at a time, but I have a lot of friends that shoot with dual cameras, and there's a lot of great holster systems out there that put, a camera on each hip to balance the weight. It takes a little bit of research and experimentation to find what works for you, but definitely don't use the camera strap that puts all the weight of the camera on your neck. I shoot with the 5D Mark IV and usually have either the 24-70 2.8 or the 7200 2.8 and a flash attached to the body. That's a lot of weight. I'm not sure how much, but I'll weigh it and put that number up here. And that's a lot of weight to have putting pressure on the back of your neck for an 8-hour wedding day. So do some research, do some experimenting, find out what kind of camera strap, harness, or holster system works best for you, and that'll help you feel better after the wedding. I love cute shoes as much as the next girl, but when I'm shooting a wedding, cute shoes are an absolute no-no for me. That's because cute shoes usually have no arch support and no cushion. And I found that after photographing an 8-hour wedding in cute shoes, my back would be wrecked the next day. Now, I've run a couple marathons and I've learned that shoes are a very individual thing. What might work for me might be terrible for you because everyone's feet are different. For the wedding day, I highly suggest function over fashion when it comes to shoes. I wear a pair of solid black running shoes that are very plain, very basic. They look like something a nurse might wear. Frankly, they're pretty ugly. And on a wedding day, no one's looking at my shoes. And once I started wearing comfortable, supportive shoes, I had a lot less aches and pains the day after the wedding. Again, like the camera harness and strap systems, do some experimenting, find out what shoes are most comfortable for you for being on your feet for an 8-hour day. Your body's gonna thank you for it, trust me. Once I get home from a wedding, I have my own little ritual. I grab a glass of water and make sure I drink the whole thing while I'm backing up my images. Once all my images are backed up and my batteries are on their chargers, I take a nice long hot shower. Times like this, I wish I had a jacuzzi, and maybe someday I'll invest in one. But if you have one, I highly recommend taking a dip in it after a wedding. After my shower, I spend about 10 or 15 minutes with my legs up on the wall. When you're on your feet for extended amounts of time, all the fluids in your body tend to pool in your legs, causing inflammation and swelling. By elevating your legs above your heart, these fluids drain and prevent your legs from feeling swollen and inflamed the next day. Usually what I'll do is hop into bed with my legs up on the wall for 10 or 15 minutes right before I go to sleep after a wedding. Speaking of sleep, getting a good night's sleep after a wedding is another key to feeling a lot more human the next day. I know it can be hard to wind down after a wedding, and the temptation is to go through your images because you're super excited to see them. But if you can wind down and get a good full night's sleep after a wedding, you're going to feel a lot better the next day. When it comes to the next day after a wedding, hopefully you can sleep in. Sleeping in is one of my guilty pleasures in life, and it's never more appreciated than the day after a wedding. Once I do wake up, one of the first things I do is stretch. Again, I like yoga with Adrienne, so I'll do one of her 10 to 30 minute videos first thing in the morning. Now, it's probably going to come as no surprise that I'm going to say hydration and eating balanced meals the day after a wedding are helpful steps in curing your wedding day hangover. But here we are. Start the day with plenty of water and a balanced breakfast. And as the day goes on, make sure you continue drinking plenty of water and eating plenty of protein. Another thing I like to do the day after a wedding is go for a nice easy walk to stretch my legs. So once I've gotten up, done some yoga, had some breakfast, had plenty of water, and I'm feeling a little bit more human, I typically go for a 30-minute walk in my neighborhood. I find that getting fresh air and stretching my legs goes a long way to helping me recover. Speaking of recovery, if I have a multi-wedding weekend, I tend to book myself a massage the day after the last wedding. When you're on your feet for 8 to 10 hours a day, for 2, 3, even 4 days in a row, lugging lots of heavy camera gear, bending, squatting, stretching, having a massage is a great way to help your body recover from all the aches and pains that you might experience. Those are some of the ways I've found to prevent feeling like garbage the day after photographing a wedding. Now, if I can just remember to do them when I photograph my next wedding, I'll be a lot better off. Do you get wedding photography hangovers? If so, tell me about it in the comments below. While you're down there, don't forget to like and subscribe for new wedding-related videos every Wednesday. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.